Hello and welcome into the latest edition of the Fore-All Podcast. I'm Jesse Morrison alongside Max Bechtold. And Max, it's an exciting week. You are on site at the CME. You were there this morning. How has it been so far?
Yeah, it's been great. It was awesome to be able to get out there on property today. Course looks like it's in good shape. A lot more stands up than pretty much any tournament I think I've been to for the women. So expecting at least a big crowd this week, which is a good thing. And yeah, a good amount of media in there. All of the like setup feels a little bit more like professional than sometimes the LPGA setups are. Sometimes you're kind of like in a like ballroom area or like a like room off to the side in the clubhouse, but here there's like a full media center. So yeah, it's been a little bit of a different experience, but it's being run fantastically, and yeah, can't wait.
Cool, and we will get more into that later in the episode. But first, we have to start with the Annika and what went down there. Max, Nelly Korda wins her seventh. That's right, seventh um, time. She won her for her seventh time, seventh tournament. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Her seventh tournament of the year. Came back on Sunday, shot three under to win after not playing for a while, really. Um, might have been her most impressive win of the year. Um, just what were your takeaways from her performance and the tournament overall?
It certainly is one of her most impressive. I'm not sure I'm going to take the full leap to say the most impressive, but it's certainly up there. I mean, you know, you talk about how she kind of went away for a little bit, essentially. She's only played once since the Solheim Cup up until this week. That was a long layover to not play and to come out looking as, and she had injuries, like to come out looking as solid as she did was really impressive. And I feel like if you were just paying attention to the tournament on the broadcast that was shown on TV, you would have assumed she would have been won by like 10 strokes because once she got to the back nine on that course, she was unstoppable. Like you could count her bad shots over those like last 2 days on those last on the back nines. Like she maybe had one or two bad shots, and even those shots weren't horrible. Like she was just playing really perfect golf. She had that missed putt at the end on 18 on Saturday. But that was really the only thing that I can remember seeing on TV that was a poor shot. And even that, it was dark out, it was night. They probably should have been done a little bit sooner, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in the podcast, just to spoil it. But yeah, I thought she gave an incredibly impressive performance from everything that I saw. I know she struggled on the front nine, weren't able to really see that too much. But yeah, I couldn't be more impressed. And you talk about Nelly Korda'S career. She came into the season as arguably the biggest star on the LPGA tour, and she had 8 wins in her career. She's almost doubled that in 1 year alone. And so it's so
And
impressive.
she could. It's not over yet.
She could, and again, another spoiler, I think she might. It's just a great, incredible season. I think probably the best in the last 20 some years. I know Yanni Sang had a 7 win season in 2011, but the tour is a lot deeper now. And so winning 7 times against this tour while dealing with injuries is kind of unbelievable.
Yeah. And just incredible. Like I'm at a loss for words, honestly. Like her ball striking down the stretch was really good. And just I think you've got to put her season up against any athlete this year in any sport, as far as like best 2024s. I think that the only people that really could have an argument are Scotty Scheffler on the men's side, who also won seven plus the major at the Masters. I think Simone Biles at the Olympics, who had three golds and a silver, and then I would say Shohei Ohtani as well with the 50 season and winning the World Series. Other than that, like I don't think anybody else has had. I think that's your best. And I think she's got an argument for the best of. It's hard to pick from those that group, but I think she has an argument for best 2024s of any athlete in the world.
I think 100% she does. And you mentioned Scotty Scheffler. All season we've kind of been following this where I think there was one point where 9 out of the previous 10 tournaments had been won by either Scotty or Nelly. Like incredible stuff. I do think I give for now Scotty the slight edge over her, just because when you look at the tournaments Scotty's won, they're really the outside of the majors, and obviously he won the Masters. But outside of the majors, they're really considered the top tournaments. I think on the PGA Tour, you got tournaments like the Players, which is essentially the fifth major, they call it. He won the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He won the Memorial at Jack's Place. So he did get some really, really big wins. But Nelly is right up there, and if she gets this eighth win, I think it's hard not to say she didn't have the best season in golf this year.
Yeah, and he won the tour championship as well, which you can't, you
Which
know.
which is also on the men's side. I have an issue calling that a win because he started off with the stroke advantage over other players. So you still have to play well, but that's like a weird tournament to really. I don't think he had the lowest score that week and he won. Like it's a weird thing there. So while I do still have it where his overall season is better, including that tour championship win, that would just make that Nelly's even that much more impressive because there is no tiered scoring to start with.
Yeah, I think that if she wins the CME this week, I think out of any athlete, and again, not just golfer, I think out of any athlete, she will have had the best 2024 season or just year in total because I'm not counting like the 2023, 2024, NBA season. I'm counting what happened in 2024. So I think that, yeah, I mean, I think if she wins this week, which, as you said, she could possibly do, very likely that she does. That would be, I think that would put her over the top. But anyway, Max, anything else from this tournament stand out to you as far as play on the course? You had Charlie Hull up at the top of the leaderboard, Rose Zhang up at the top of the leaderboard, pretty uh, popular star players there. So not as much of the crazy youth movement that we've seen in the past few weeks, but
Or
kind of the
one
stars took over.
except for one person who I will mention as a big thing, Jin Hee Im, keeping her Rookie of the Year hopes alive by playing well, getting in the top three this week. Now she has a legitimate shot at winning Rookie of the Year. She has to finish in the top four this week, but there is a path for her to win Rookie of the Year. So yeah, so her playing really well, and she's got the game to finish in the top four. We've seen her finish top three or top 12 in three majors this season already. So I think that's an interesting storyline too that came out of this weekend.
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, I was talking about like the
Right.
21, 22, not
Yeah.
rookies on the tour. I'm talking about just
The
like the
the
super,
the kids basically.
yeah, the kids on the
Well,
tour. Yeah, exactly.
we saw Alexa Pano play great over the first two rounds. She's only 20. She kind of had a rough weekend, but but it's always nice to see Alexa Pano especially get some nice play out there because she's kind of the newest, and it's kind of interestingly like becoming a little bit more rare, it seems like, of these super young American stars. We kind of had that movement like in the 2010s, late 2000s, 2010s of like the really, really young Americans. Feels like we're seeing less of that. So Alexa Pano's kind of carrying that torch.
And another name that's kind of a name in the top, tied for fifth at -10. Lynn Grant, I know you like her game a lot, so
I love
just
watching Lynn Grant play golf. I think she's super talented. Did not have the season that I thought she would. I picked her top three, I believe, for player of the year coming into the season. Didn't have the year that I expected her to have, but yeah, nice to see her playing well.
anyway, the kind of the story that I don't know maybe overshadowed the Annika a little bit.
Absolutely,
Um,
100% did.
the pace of play stuff. Nelly Korda'S group in the final group with Charlie Hull, they went over 5 hours. I think it was 5:38 on the time. It was getting dark toward the end of their round there. You know, that is a ridiculous amount of time to play 18 holes of golf. And Charlie Hull had some issues with that. And she said, and I will read this. She said, "quote I'm quite ruthless, but I said, listen, if you get three bad timings every time it's a two-shot penalty, if you have three of them, you lose your tour card instantly. I'm sure that would hurry a lot of people up, and they won't want to lose their tour card." End quote. That's pretty wild, Max. Just your overall thoughts on that first off.
Yeah, I think Charlie was joking, but I'm not 100% sure either. I mean, look, Charlie Hull definitely outspoken, one of the most outspoken on the tour. She's not afraid to say anything, and she created quite a storm with this because I know Nelly Korda'S shared out the video of it on Instagram. Hannah Green shared it out. Those are two of the biggest stars on the LPGA tour. Mel Reed shared it out as well. Like, and this is a thing that pops up quite often with the LPGA Tour. It seems like every time there's a big news story that people are paying attention to, they decide to watch, and then they realize how painfully slow it is at times. And it is slow. I mean, I remember at the Chevron this year, I think that overshadowed Nelly's win a little bit there. I mean, and keep in mind with Nelly and Charlie's group playing that 5 hours and 38 minutes, I mean, you could argue that Nelly Gorda and Charlie Hull are the two fastest players on the tour. So it's just in front of them, it must have been so incredibly slow. And the greens were incredibly fast and slick last week. So I think that added to it to make it a little bit more egregious this last week because players are taking a little bit more time on the greens. Also, a lot of water hazards, which means you have a lot of rules officials out there who uh you know where you're trying to get a ruling. So I do think that added to it a little bit. But if you're an LPGA fan, you know it's an issue. And when I was watching the tournament on Saturday, I think I said at one point, I'm like, have they only played two holes since I've been watching? Like, I think I was watching for like 35 minutes. I'm like, I think they've only played two holes. That's crazy. And so, yeah, it is an issue. And I mean, I can just say from the press conferences today, the most popular topic of conversation was the pace of play. And I know tomorrow, today, when you will be listening to this, the LPGA commissioner has her press conference, and I will bet with you what the number one topic is in that press conference. I bet you it's going to be about the pace of play. And so I get both sides of it, kind of. I'm a very fast golfer. I like to play really quickly. I also am not playing for a lot of money like some of these players are. And so I think there's a happy medium. LPGA fans know who a few of the slow players are. I'm not going to necessarily name them, but if you watch enough of the LPGA tour, you know a few of the names. And I've seen them play, in person up close, and yeah, they're really, really slow. And so, yeah, I won't name either player, but I was sitting there in Arizona last year at the tournament, and there was a group with a slow player and a very fast player. The very fast player was visibly frustrated and upset and was like gesturing to the crowd and making faces to the fans and was like really, really not happy about it. And so it is an issue. It's an issue for the players. They don't like it. And I kind of get it. And I will also say a lot of times the best players in the world right now are a lot of the faster ones. So I don't know if there's something to that, but
Overthinking things can be true. You can
absolutely.
overthink things. Also, I will just say that I am someone that shoots around 120s, 130s on 18, and it takes me a little bit shorter than that to play, probably around 4 hours. I know I'm not like waiting on groups and in a pro tournament, but I am waiting on groups usually when I'm playing golf. And yeah, if pro players are taking longer than someone that's getting 8 to 10s on mini holes, then they need to be penalized for that personally, just because again, like no professional player on any tour. I don't care if you're making like $50 for the win or whatever, should not be playing as slow as I do because and I don't intentionally play slow; it just
Right.
happens. Um,
And I
but
think Nelly kind of nailed it today in the press conference. This little snippet is something that I always say. This was how I was taught to play golf, which is basically you don't rush your shot, but you don't waste time either. And basically what Nelly said is when a group of in front of me is on the green and I'm in the fairway, I'm already getting ready. I'm getting my numbers ready, talking about the shot. So by the time it's my turn, I already have my game plan. I'm hitting right after the person that just hit in front of me. I think people overanalyze one. I think people just need to be ready faster. I think that needing to be ready faster is a big, big deal. We see it doesn't mean that you're concentrating less. Nelly Korda is one of the most prepared players on the LPGA Tour. She is one of the best golf minds on the LPGA Tour. You flip over to the men's side, Matt Fitzpatrick, I think you could argue is the best mind in men's golf. I mean, he's known for being very thoughtful and analytical, and he's considered one of the fastest players on the men's tour. And so it's about being prepared, being ready, and when it's time to hit your shot, you hit your shot.
yeah, maybe take the advice of a 7 time winner this season. Like she probably knows what she's talking about. And if you haven't had that success, again, probably listen to her. Anyway, and she also said this stood out to me to be standing over a putt for 2 to 3 minutes. That's ridiculous. I think that is true. Like, how can that possibly? Who needs to stand over a putt for 3 minutes? That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
I think I think this might go to a men's tournament too. Because I do think it's not as big of an issue on the men's tour, but TV cuts a lot that you don't really realize. Around the greens at golf tournaments, it gets really, really boring because they all take so long on their putts. And again, I get they're playing for a lot of money, but they take so long looking at their putts when they're on the green. Like if somebody three putts, that hole is going to take them forever to play. And so I completely agree with her.
Oh, and then I wanted to read this Lexi Thompson quote that you also put on here, which was funny. She said, "Yeah," she's referring to Charlie Hull's quote. "Yeah, hers was a bit of an aggressive comment." She leads off with that, but then she says, "I don't disagree with it," which was funny with me. It was just funny, and she said, "It has to be done. Something has to be done to quicken up the play out there, whether it's fines or whatever it is. Needs to be done quick because we need to play quicker. Fans aren't enjoying being out there for 5.5 hours in the heat. Hopefully, we'll be quicker this week." So I love how she started with
I
like, yeah, it's a bit aggressive, but never mind. I
I
agree
will
with it.
say, now they're not. I believe they're playing in twosomes this week, so it should be faster. But I will say, there's a group or two that I pinged that's playing pretty early that has a couple of the pretty slow players in it. So we'll see if the pace is decent, because especially since they're teeing off on just 1-9, that could trickle down to really affect other groups. So we'll see. We'll see if we have that issue again. But I'll be curious to see what they do about it in the off season because it's gotten to the point where it's so much of an issue, and people realize it while they're watching. Like whenever there's a big event, it's the talking points. Even during the Solheim Cup, people were wondering if slow players were being used intentionally to get into fast players' heads. Like it's and that was something that was discussed a lot by like the broadcast. So even they know that it's so slow. And so yeah, it's an issue that needs to be fixed.
All right, here is my solution for it. And I don't know if this is a good idea at all. Pick a time, however long it is. You start the clock. That's how long you get for your round. If you don't finish, then you don't finish. You're 18, and then you're either disqualified or that's your score for the day. I don't know, whatever. I think disqualified would probably be the best option there, because you don't want
Or
somebody that's like 10 under to be you know leading, and then they win but they weren't able to finish their round.
so just assuming we go with your scenario here, I would go against disqualified. I would go with a one shot penalty for every shot you hit after the clock goes up. So it directly penalizes you for how slow you actually are. If you only have one putt left, okay, you were a little slow, but you weren't that far off of it. But if you have three holes left, that's really, really gonna add up. Now, I
Yeah,
that it wouldn't happen like that. Players are slow, but they aren't that far behind. But I do think you have to do something. I do think you have to get a little bit more aggressive with it. I think they should either take down how slow you can play. I don't know what the solution is. That is the tough thing. I don't think I agree with Charlie Hull on this. Again, I'm not 100% sure if she was serious, but I do think you have to do something.
golf carts.
No,
It would get you from point A to point B quicker. You don't
no,
have to walk. Oh
no.
no! How about what's the that style of golf that people play? It's like
Oh,
sprint
like
golf.
speed, yeah, speed golf,
Yeah,
I think it
speed
is.
golf. How
Yeah.
about that? Why don't we just do that on the LPGA tour? Combination of like cross country and track and golf.
Sounds like a great Olympic sport, honestly. Like,
Honestly, yeah, they could do that. You know how they have 3-on-3 basketball,
yeah.
like, and they have 5-on-5. They could do the normal stuff, and then if you don't get into that, part of it, then you can try to make the team as a sprint golfer, and we'll see which LPGA and PGA players are the fastest and most athletic.
Honestly, it'd probably be like golf influencers because it feels like half of the videos that come to my YouTube is like, we played this golf hole in 2 minutes. Like, that's honestly probably all who it would be.
Yeah, the fitness influencer that happens to play golf.
Hmm.
Uh, anyway, Max, let's move on to where you are right now. The CME Group Tour Championship. Um, there is $4 million on the line for this one. That is a huge amount of money. So this should be super competitive this weekend. A lot of people want that. Um, what do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to win? Yeah, I'll start with that.
Yeah, well, I'll touch on the $4 million real quick first, which is a huge number. When I heard that, I was like, there's no chance that's right. Like, I thought it was a mistake. That's a crazy, crazy amount of money that they're playing for LPGA standards. 4 million is more than I think like anyone other than Nelly has made all season. Like it's pretty wild. And a few of the players were asked about it today in the press conferences. I'm not going to say they lied. I'm just going to say they didn't tell the full truth because they're like, "Oh, I'm just focused on playing the best." It's like you're
No,
thinking
you're
about
not.
the $4 million. Like, let's be honest here. Prediction of who I think will win will be no surprise here. Allie Ewing said today in her press conference that there's just something about Nelly in Florida courses. Like she knows how to play on them. And I think we saw that last week. I think we saw that in Bradenton earlier this year. I think we've seen that at the Pelican the last couple of years. Like, she knows how to play Florida golf. She grew up playing it. She's familiar with the grass. She's familiar with the setups. Like Florida golf, I've personally never really played that much Florida golf, but I do know that it's a style that you kind of gotta get used to at times. The greens and the fairways, and especially like how the greens read. And so I think she knows how to play Florida golf so well. She had a great week last week. She should still be really well rested. I mean, you talk about she didn't travel to Asia, so she doesn't have those miles on her. I mean, I think we're just, I don't really know how far Naples is from Tampa, but it's got to be pretty close. I'm assuming it's a drive. And so I think the injury is no concern to me right now because I don't think she's going to be worn down or tired. I think, and she seemed pretty confident today. So I do think that Nelly Korda is going to win, get her eighth win of the season, and I think it just it feels like one of those things that just has to happen. Like you can't have this season finish any other way than Nelly winning. Like it would just feel kind of strange if all of a sudden like the biggest prize in golf goes to someone other than her this season. So I do think she's going to win.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with that as well. I think Nelly will win. Um, I think that I wonder if there's a part of her that wants to have more than Scotty, have more than the her.
Oh, absolutely. Her competitiveness, absolutely.
Yeah, they're in a commercial together and everything. So I don't know how much they know each other, but I'm sure she would like to do better
She'll
than.
have a little bragging rights if TaylorMade does another Christmas commercial this
There
year.
you go. Yeah, exactly.
Mac
Like,
Daddy Santa will have to break them up.
yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, that starts on Thursday. And Max, just I mean, obviously this is going to be on the site as well. Just kind of what do you have planned on the site? That's foreall.com, FORE-ALL.com. What are your kind of plans for this tour? I mean, this tournament coverage wise.
All kind of stuff. If you want to read a little bit more about pace of play, there's going to be a pace of play article up today. And yeah, interview or press conference with LPGA Commissioner Molly Marcousman. Um, yeah, I'm sure that there'll be a lot of fascinating things asked there. We got the Rolex Awards tomorrow, which is where Nelly will be kind of officially crowned Player of the Year, and a few other awards being given out there, including to Lydia Ko and Allie Ewing, Gino Titicun. So a lot of stuff about that. Be keeping you updated on the status of the Rookie of the Year race, all kinds of stuff, and of course recaps after every round, and do photos on the site. Obviously, since I'm here, the photos getting a little stale right now. Use like the when Nelly wins 7 times, I've used like the same 6 Nelly photos like 30 times each. So yeah, there'll be new photos on the site also. So yeah, that's what to expect from this week.
Yeah, go ahead and go and check that out, and then we will talk all about this tournament next week, early in the week.
Yep.